Yo, Salaam nerds. It's your boy Neebs, aka Watch with Neebs, and I'm here at my code Jazz, aka Heath just Jazz. Somewhere else, he'd just be an ass.
The second part I actually didn't see coming. That's impressive.
You like that, right? You like
Mhm.
that. Oh man, we got an episode for you guys today. One half of Barbenheimer. Oh man, listen, this Barbie episode is gonna be crazy. I got so many notes. I definitely cannot wait to dive in. Jazz, how was your Barbie experience?
Bro, it was fantastic.
Yeah. All
hmm
right. All right, cool. Listen, all right, we got to introduce our guest. All right. So, the first guest is somebody you guys have already know. She's already been on our anime episode. I've ran into her at Comic Con a bunch of time. She's 1/3 of Religiously Nerdy, and it's Elizabeth. Hello, how are you?
Hi, Salaam, y'all. I'm good. Happy to be here. Happy to talk about Barbie.
Oh, we love to have you, man. Every time we have you, it's awesome. So one of the comments wrote Heath Jazz Nuff.
Yep. I'm jazzed up.
Oh man, that's awesome. The next person I want to introduce you guys is someone who I really admire. She is definitely one of like the people that I met at Comic-Con who does the hijabi cosplays. She has some really amazing takes online, and she is someone who I asked to be on the podcast a long time ago, and she turned me down. she was like, but
Wow.
now we're a big deal. So now she
Rude.
she basically came to me and said, "Hey, can I be on your Barbie episode?" I was like, "Ooh, the tables have turned."
The turns have tabled.
Welcome, Malia. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me here. And yes, I love having watched you guys grow, and this has been amazing. And just to put my side of the story, I was going through a rough time. All right, we were in grad school, and it was not fun. But I'm so proud of you guys of all the episodes. I haven't listened to all of them, but when I do, little quips here and there, phenomenal. So
Love
thanks
it.
for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate it. We love the support. We love all our fans. We love all our supporters and anybody who contributes. We love you guys. And speaking of contributors and support, we want to always give support to the SAG and WAG people. We want to make sure that, we give them a shout out every single episode. We have been told that, websites like ours and New Rockstar and Phase Zero are exempt from, not having to put out stuff. We consider ourselves entertainment journalists, and we do not promote any struck work in terms of any kind of brand stuff or deals and stuff like that. I've actually already turned down 3 deals already, Jazz. I'm like, and there and two of them
I've seen it.
two of them were for Universal and one was for Warner Brothers, and I was like, damn,
wow.
oh man,
Those bastards.
it was in the
People
thousands.
trying to make
Wow.
scabs.
Wow.
Yeah, one of them was 1900, and I was like, oh, and one of them is a movie I really, really want to see, and like, let's just say, it's filled with 4 green reptiles.
Oh, really?
Which is something I
Yeah, we
want to
can't say the name.
Yeah, it's a movie I want to see anyway. We can review it, we can critique it, we cannot promote it. So
Correct.
that's what it is. But yes, let's get down to Barbie. And listen, before we start getting into spoilers, I want to take maybe 5 minutes to talk about, what kind of connection you may have to Barbie and also what you thought of the movie overall. So take maybe like, we're going to take like the first 10 minutes and stuff like that. And then probably around the 30-minute mark, we're going to commercial, another one at 45, and then we'll wrap it up with Easter eggs at the end. We got tons of Easter eggs with Barbie.
hmm
It's kind of like a Marvel movie, man. There's like just throwing Mattel Easter eggs at us. So, Malia, why don't you go first? What kind of connection do you have with Barbie, and what did you think of the movie overall, like a general overview?
Okay, so I guess pre-movie, I didn't actually grow up with Barbie, to be honest. I was not a big doll girl. I was not super femme, so it was more like, I don't really care for Barbie. And I honestly had no interest in the doll or the film up until like a couple months ago. That's where it really was like, okay, this movie's coming out. Let me look into it. I got into the lore, the history, And the number of analysis on YouTube about Barbie history from, because I'm also, just for context, like a sociology student, so I get like super into the meta social commentary about Barbie and all that. So that's what got me into it. And in terms of like the movie, I thought it was fantastic because I was just like, I'm dying for a lighthearted film. Because so many of her films recently, I feel like, have been very like dystopic, especially in like the fantasy sci-fi genre. And so this is like a fantasy, but it's super like pink and fun and girly. And I was like, yes. So I think it delivered in that lightheartedness while still having some important messages. So to me, it was great.
Awesome. I like how me and Jazz are rocking the pink to show solidarity, and you guys aren't. What's up with that? You know,
I got a pink drink. This is
okay.
this is my contribution.
Like my water bottle's pink-ish.
Okay,
So
fair,
that
Okay.
There was a pink shortage because of this movie. That's how much pink there was.
I know. I
Yes.
heard.
That's wild. Ellie, what about you? What are your thoughts?
So growing up, I had a lot of Barbies. My mother actually worked at Toys R Us, so we always got discounted toys. So we
Nice.
had like, I know, it's a great. So we had like the giant Barbie head that you could do the hair and the makeup for. So I would always I had all of them. I wasn't, she tried getting Bratz, but we don't talk about Bratz. We're not Bratz family. But as far as the movie went, I went in with such high hopes because like Melissa said, like all the movies have been kind of dark. Like they have like this haze to them. It's really opaque, but like the movie in itself was just like the whole theater was filled with light and it was just beautiful. I loved the movie and the message behind everything, and with the Barbie was chef's kiss.
Nice. For me, I have really almost no like history with Barbie because like I have no sister. I just have brothers. So like the only Barbie I would come across would be like, you know, in Toy Story where you see a Barbie. That's the only time. But I did enjoy the movie, but more than the movie, I enjoyed the hype. I think it was cool to see people dress up. The whole Barbenheimer stuff was fun. The memes were incredible. And also the marketing for this was wild. It was like the time Pokemon came out on Pokemon Go and everybody was just all crazy about it. It was kind of like how Barbie was. It really did save cinema this year because, oh man, the Flash movie did not, which is ironic that the movie that saved Warner Brothers was not the movie they expected, but actually Barbie. That is pretty wild. Almost reaching $1 billion. That is bananas. Jazz, what about you? What are your thoughts?
I kind of like this timeline we're in right now.
Yeah, we got a few comments right here. Someone said there was a hijabi Barbie. Yes, we will get into that. That was cool. We like that. And yes, everyone, welcome to our Mojo Jojo Casa house. I love the Mojo Dojo Casa house. Is my favorite thing. I love it. I try to get my gym to rename it to the Mojo Dojo Casa house. All right, and then someone said the Zack Snyder line caught me off guard. I thought that was pretty funny too. Yes, we'll get into it. All right, listen, It's been 10 minutes. We talked about what we really thought about this. We will be going into spoilers. So if you have not seen this movie, if you're like the one person who still hasn't seen this movie, turn off the podcast now. Give us a like, give us a follow, give us a good review, and then come back and watch it after you watch the movie.
Yes, give us a review before you listen to the whole thing. Yes, thanks.
Yeah. Just give us blind favoritism. Just give us good reviews. Yes. All right. Look, we're gonna start off on with this, and we're gonna break it down. We're gonna go through every single thing that happened. We're gonna go through Easter eggs. We're gonna go through the meta commentary. We're gonna go into feminism, intersectionality, everything we want to talk about. We're gonna talk about, right? So it'll be awesome. Let's get into it. So the movie starts out with a cool little reference to 2001: Space Odyssey, which I thought was really, really cool. And I did not even pick up on the fact that before Barbie, dolls were always babies. I had no idea. Just teaching little girls to be moms at birth, which is wild. never occurred to me, and until I saw that, and the fact of them, they're just like breaking all the dolls and breaking all the toys, just like the spoof of 2001 Space Odyssey. I thought that was a great opener, especially since like I had just watched Oppenheimer right before this. I'm just like, it felt like the exclamation point to Oppenheimer, and now we're starting a new thing. I was like, great, this is what I want. So I
That's
loved it.
funny.
Right, I really like that. Did you guys know that? Did you guys know about the whole Barbie and the doll history?
Yeah, so I actually, when I went into my hyper focus interest on Barbie, I learned about that. And that is why so many people who argue like Barbie is a feminist icon is because of the history of the doll itself. Like, she was the first mainstream doll that gave girls an option other to be moms, right? Before that, all dolls were babies, and the only way you could play, basically what they say in the film. The other thing I will also say, it also incorporates into the dream house. The first Barbie dream house did not have a kitchen, and it was very much intentional because women's role was always seen, girls were always socialized to cook and clean. Not that everyone should learn how to cook and clean, but it was kind of to push the idea of Barbie's house without a kitchen. Like, you're going to have to play with her in every other room, but not the kitchen. So it was kind of like challenging young women, girls. And so you cannot tell me a doll like that did not have effect on the young minds of American girls to want things that the first time they were seeing it is, how is doll have more access to life than I do, right? Like all the professions and all that cute clothes and the house. But so that's like the pro-femme, right? Like why she is a feminist icon is in those sense. Like the doll itself was a pretty radical concept back in the 50s and 60s. So that's, I guess, like that's that comment. Yes, there's cons to her too, but like I think that has to be acknowledged that she's iconic, whether or not you like it.
Damn. Listen, I think we're just gonna give you the show. I think me and Jad are just gonna take a seat
At that
back.
point, yeah.
I think this is your show. I think this is your show this week. So
No notes.
welcome to Salaam Nerds, featuring Ellie and Maliha with Anubis Jazz.
No.
background
Welcome to
commentary.
Salaam Nerds with Ellie and Maliha featuring Jazz and Neves.
Yeah, featuring Jazz and Neves as just background. All right. The other thing, also the other thing that they kind of hinted at is all the careers that Barbie had. Ellie, you want to talk about that? I thought that was really cool.
Yes. So I actually watched, there's a cartoon on Netflix. I highly recommend everyone watch it because I binged it before I even watched Barbie, but it's Barbie Life in the Dream House. And it actually touches base on how all the careers that Barbie actually does, how I can't even put it to a number, but she's been everything that you could possibly think of. And that's mostly like encouraging girls to be like, you can be more than just a mom. You can be a astronaut, you can be a chef, you can be a dancer, you can be a fashionista, like Barbie basically is in everything she does. And there's even like a part of the episode where she just stops and focuses on fashion and the world around her collapses because they're just focused on Barbie so much, heavily so. And like it kind of reflects in the movie as well. Like every Barbie has a role, every Barbie has a spot. So it's so important that every Barbie has, meets what they're supposed to be doing. And I know we're going to probably go into this later, but like Ken's just Ken.
Yeah.
Just Ken.
Well,
He's just Ken.
The thing is, Barbie is all about accessory. And what is Ken if not just an accessory to Barbie?
A giant accessory, yes.
Right.
Yeah. Oh man, someone said the press Barbie ad was really funny. That was
Oh my God.
That was really good. I
That was a moment. That was a moment. I loved it.
Yeah, and we also got to see a South Asian Barbie who was a journalist, Ritu, who we covered in the Polite Society episode, which I thought was really cool. We got to see her. She got to play two feminist, like badass women in 1 year. So I thought that was really cool. I love that.
Kudos to her.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and if you guys have not seen Polite Society, I would recommend that. I think Polite Society is not one of the struck companies; it's an indie film, so that's definitely one that we can
promote it.
We can still
Yeah.
promote. Yeah.
Good to know.
Yes. So Margot Robbie ends up being the stereotypical Barbie, which is without a doubt amazing casting. Minus that one part where she's supposed to be ugly, and then the narrator called it out, which was the best part in the movie because literally everyone was thinking that. Like she was, she looks so beautiful.
She was so pretty even when she cried.
I know. And my whole theater started laughing, because that's how they play, when the narrator chimes in, like, note to the producers, maybe perhaps not cast Margot Robbie if you're trying to prove this point. And everyone starts laughing and dying because everyone's like, yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Exactly.
Everybody was thinking that. And that's a bit from one of my favorite shows, Arrested Development. I don't know if you're an Arrested Development fan, but they always do that, where the narrator always talks about, like, and then this was a big mistake, and then Job goes, this was a big mistake. It's like this really, I think it's called, like, I forgot what it's called, but it's a type of narration, which is really funny, where the narrator kind of interacts with the story, and I think it's really funny.
Like the fourth wall thing? I don't know what it's
It
called.
is kind of like the fourth wall. Yeah, it's like a type of fourth wall, but there's a special name for it. I think it's called like lantern commentary, something like that.
That's cool to know.
Yeah.
Nerd.
Listen, I'm just Ken, guys. Oh man. All right. So I think that was really cool. I love seeing all the other Barbies, Issa Rae, and like Emma McKay, all of these big stars. Dua Lipa, like out of nowhere, is the mermaid. Freaking John Cena, who was the Ken, Simu Lee, and what was the guy from, I forget, Secret Invasion? Bentley, King Adair.
I can't remember his name, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yo, just amazing.
There was,
I
was gonna say there was also like a South Asian Ken. I think it was like a British Bengali actor.
Yes.
I don't know his name, but I saw like some of the videos on TikTok of him attending like the Bangladeshi premiere of Barbie, which I thought was so cool for them to have.
He was in the dance sequence when they do when they're doing little Barbie dance sequence where she goes, have you guys ever thought about dying?
Oh yeah, the beginning, the blow up party dance. Yes, I remember that.
He was in that scene, which I thought was really cool. And then we got a little hijabi Barbie there, a physicist, a lawyer, a judge, all the different careers that Barbie has more jobs than anybody. That's pretty dope.
She's a hardworking girl.
I know.
She's lived a long life.
Yeah, that was really, really good. I did like the background and like how it was all plastic and she can walk on the pool like she's literally walking on water. And then when she comes down her house, she just floats down like you would pick up a doll and put her down.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts about that? The whole like Barbie land.
The attention to detail, impeccable. Like the fact that they build a whole city, right? Like this movie was not CGI. They actually they even like the background, which looks like paintings, were real paintings. And I thought that was amazing. And just like even the fact that she can't drink water or anything, because like toys don't actually, so she takes a shower but there's no water, or she like pours from the glass, there is no water, and it's still expired. The milk, remember those milk expired? That was so funny to me because it was just good. It was so good.
That reminds me of like when my niece does a tea party and there's no actual tea there, so you gotta pretend there's like a tea.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, that's really, really funny. And then we see all of the Kens. Now, I'm curious, what were your guys' thoughts on Ryan Gosling as Ken? Because when I first saw him as Ken, I was like, this is a miscast. I was like, he is not going to do a good job. He doesn't look like Ken. He doesn't have the build for Ken. He doesn't have the hair for Ken. He's got like a pointy chin, not a square chin. And I was like, this isn't right. But I was pleasantly proven wrong because I love me some Ryan Gosling, and I thought he was great in this movie. What are your thoughts?
I think he did an excellent job as Ken. I know a lot of people were kind of in their feelings about Margot and Ryan being too old to play these characters because everyone views them as young, but I thought it was perfect. When I see him, because it feels like he brought the embodiment of Ken, even if he didn't physically look like a Ken.
Yeah.
He had the personality of a Ken. Yes. And he really exuded that energy. The Kenergy.
The Kenergy.
I was waiting for that one.
That is great. So for me, like, I didn't know Ken's personality at all. I have no idea what a Ken is. And I really was like, the only time I've seen a Ken was from Toy Story, where he's like wearing this Ashkoff and he's kind of like a bad guy. Other than that, I had no experience what a Ken was. So I didn't really have a good like Yeah, someone said like someone in the comments like that's an L take, Anib. Yeah, it was an L take. Ryan Gosling, what I thought that was an L take. All right,
But
I'll
I
take
have,
that.
yes, I have to add a social piece to this. I also agree with you where I felt the same way. I was like, oh, I don't know if I see Ryan Gosling playing Ken. I was like kind of apprehensive. I mean, I trusted the process, but I wasn't sure. And there was an interview where Margot was like, you know, like what went into choosing, like, you know, all the people. And she was like, we had to pick somebody who was willing to work with a predominantly women-led project and constantly going to be surrounded by women and knowing when to take direction from a woman. And it hit me in that moment that I didn't think of how many Hollywood actors are probably going to be very difficult to work with when you have female co-leads and producers and directors. And it is a very like female project. Like the Barbie movie is made for the girls. You know what I mean? So it's like, I didn't even think about that element, and I'm like, of course, you can't just go for like who's the hottest Ken. You got to think about these structures when you're working on a project that is very like women led. And I was like, props to Ryan. I do think he definitely fits that category and 100% on that Kenergy.
That is great.
Another thing to note, because I know you said you only know Ken from Toy Story, so something that I picked up on is the Ken in Toy Story is still the same as the Ken in the Barbie movie, because Ken in Toy Story was just kind of an accessory as well. He was just kind of like a plot point. And the Ken in the Barbie movie was also, you know, that accessory. He has this whole identity crisis that he's trying to figure out. The Ken in the Toy Story has like this whole identity crisis that he ends up figuring out. So, I mean, Ken is just a character that you can really manipulate to any form, either evil, as we see in Toy Story, or confused in the Barbie movie.
Yeah. Poor guy only fell for the patriarchy because he thought they would have horses. He's like, once I found out there weren't any horses involved, I kind of didn't care about it. I love that. I also love that
things in life.
I also love that his job is beach. Like,
yes,
he's not a lifeguard.
I love that. I think what I appreciated about that is like, it's because in Barbie Land, they're toys and they're interacting with each other. Like kids are playing with them. So it was almost like the dialogue kids would have, which is like, hi, Barbie, hi, Ken, hi, Barbie, hi, Barbie. You're and right. Also like, my job is beach. My job is, you know, hospital or something like that. It's like, it's because I know a lot of people are like, what are these lines? They sound so stupid. But I'm like, that's the point. They're toys.
Yes.
Oh, so good.
Yes.
There's that part for kids, but then there's also the jokes for like us where it's like, I'll beat you off right now. Oh man.
They did a really good job. Yes, definitely.
The beach off was pretty funny. What are your thoughts about the beach off, Jazz?
I thought that was hilarious. Oh, you're asking?
Okay.
Jazz, go ahead. Yeah.
No,
this is the Malia and Ellie show, so please go ahead.
No.
I wanted Jazz to talk about who he would beach off.
Yeah.
If you could beach off against anyone, who would it be? Oh man. All right. Let's see. And then she talked about, you know, have you guys ever thought about dying? And she has her first like existential crisis, which like, let's think back to our own existential crisis. How old were you when you thought about dying?
Oh God.
I think I was like 8.
Yes. The younger you go back, you're like, oh God, yeah, this happened then. Oh no.
Yeah, I feel like I don't remember a time. It's like
constant.
I don't know. So yes, exactly. I think once you have one, that's it. That is the state, eternal state for the rest of your life.
Yeah. I did like the dance number, and I did like how all the Kens were like wearing the same jackets. I did think it was a little sus that the jacket had K's in there, and I was like, y'all, like they better not have 3 of these guys in a row, man. I don't know what these K's are meant for. I was like, what's going on here, guys?
That would have been really funny if it slipped.
Whoopsie.
Oh man. So after the night of partying and she had a perfect day, like every day is perfect. The next day wasn't so perfect. The next day was, you know, like you mentioned, the shower was off and her toast or waffles were burnt. And she fell off the little Barbie house. And now her feet are flat, like flat feet.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. and I thought that was really really cool. And then she had to go and meet Weird Barbie. What were your thoughts about Weird Barbie? I thought that was a little cool little thing because everybody has a Weird Barbie apparently.
Everybody has a weird
Yes,
Barbie.
Weird
everybody
Barbie
does.
is canon. Weird Barbie is canon. So I had a weird Barbie, and my weird Barbie looked just like Angelica from Rugrats.
Ah,
Which obviously, if you
Cynthia.
think back about it, yeah, Cynthia, sorry, Angelica. But like, if you think back on it, that's probably what Angelica's Barbie was, Cynthia. But Weird Barbie that's exactly what she did exactly what she was supposed to do. The splits, because you're breaking her like this.
Yeah.
Yep.
Got the hair messed up, and you're drawing on her.
Yeah. Fun fact. I don't know if you guys knew that, but do you know who Weird Barbie belongs to?
No clue.
She actually
No.
belongs to Gloria. They show a scene of her being like played with from a kid, but in the back there is a name and it says Gloria. So they show Gloria playing with her as a kid. So Weird Barbie is the doll that Gloria played as a kid, and then stereotypical Barbie is the one she bought for her daughter to play with,
Oh,
and she would play with her daughter.
nice. Okay.
I'm
I
touched.
appreciate those little details. Oh
There's
my god.
so many details. I thought that was
Oh
really
my
really cool.
god.
All right, so Barbie has to pick between Birkenstocks and heels, and she's like, "I'll take the heels."
Matrix reference.
The Matrix moment. Yes.
Yeah, Andrew Tate must be spinning in his grave right now. You think Andrew
Died?
Tate watched this movie?
just so he could pull a Ben Shapiro? Absolutely.
Yeah. He's someone that needs to get beached off.
Oh my god.
Do it, Jazz. Do it.
I'm on it. I got this.
Oh man, that's really really funny. All right, so she has to go to the real world, and they like made this like weird little travel thing with the real world.
I
where
was
they have
obsessed.
to they have to go in a rocket ship and like all these other things. I thought that was really really funny, and then like it looked like a play when you see like
Yes.
the backgrounds and stuff. What were your thoughts about that?
I was obsessed because visually appealing. It was so fun and whimsical. And I appreciate that there was no science to it because I feel like so many films try to explain away the magic parts by like,
Mhm.
and because of this power factor and that, and this is why they're able to travel through dimensions and da da da. They were just like, hey, you go through the pages of this flip book and boom, you're in Venice Beach. And I was like, thank you.
My favorite way is like, how do we get back? Just do everything in reverse.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, when Ken goes back without Barbie, he's still in the same position. Like he's not in the position that Barbie would be. He's still in his own position. Like he's still on the back of the rocket. He's still on the back of the boat. He doesn't go
Yeah.
to the front. I think that's
I didn't even
hilarious.
notice that. Oh my gosh.
That's
That's
I
so
also
know.
a reference to the Wizard of Oz, the way they did it. Like,
yeah. There's a lot of references to the
Yes,
Wizard of
yes.
Oz
Yeah.
actually.
Yes.
There's definitely a lot. Even the outfit that Barbie is wearing, it's a version. The print is a version of Dorothy's blue and white, except it's pink and white.
It is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And when she's driving to the Indigo Girls, it's a pink brick road.
Mhm.
Which
a
is
reference
like,
to the yellow
brick road.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Greta was in her bag with this movie.
Yeah.
Oh, she did such a good job with all the references. Like,
She did such a good job.
Apparently,
So-
there's reference to 27 movies. I think I don't know. I haven't watched all of them, but apparently Greta's like a huge film nerd, so she had to play homage to all of them. And I was
Yeah.
like, wow, she packed in those references.
There's a lot of references. Speaking of references, I did reference that we were going to go to commercial at 30 minutes. So I'm going to go into commercial now in 5, 4. And we're back, guys. So for those of you that don't know, we put the commercials in later. So like when we're live, there's no commercials. I know Malia's like, what's happening right now?
I was expecting the Depression Barbie commercial to
We put the commercial in post. But yes, sometimes we don't even do it. We're like, all right, we get lazy. But like, we got to make that bank. Maybe
Yes,
Barbie will
get
sponsor
those
us.
spikes.
Yes, maybe we'll get a Barbie sponsor. All right. So Barbie is singing to Indigo Girls. It's called "Close to Fine," and then Ken is back in the car with his skates and he's ready to go with her. So they go into the real world. And I knew they were going to go into the real world, but I didn't know what was going to happen. At this part, the movie's like, whoa, this is not as predictable as I thought it was going to be. So it takes like a little bit of a left turn. So Barbie and Ken get arrested. And I love how, like, when they get arrested, the name says Barbie, and then on Ken it says and Ken. It's like it doesn't say Ken. It says and Ken. And like Ken goes and like starts reading about like all of this stuff about like the patriarchy, and like people are respecting him and asking him for the time, and he's just like, what's going on here? This is amazing. And then he reads about the patriarchy, and then he goes out and he goes like, yes, give me a job, I can become a doctor, I can do all of this. And they're like, no, you can't do that. And they're like, you're doing patriarchy wrong. He's like, no, we're just better at hiding it.
God.
Yo,
That was phenomenal to put that
my
in there.
theater erupted with laughter. I thought that was so funny. What are
was
your
so funny.
thoughts about the commentary on that? Because Greta ate with that.
I think like even to go back further when they first get back into, or when they first enter the real world, the parallel is immediately different, because Barbie says like, I feel conscious about myself, and Ken is just
Right.
like, I am here for it. Let's do it. Like immediately off the bat, he like feels the masculine
Admired.
energy. He feels everything about it, and Barbie is like, I want to be back in a box.
Yeah.
And so like when Ken branches off and he's finding out the patriarchy, when he's meeting other men, when he's interacting with other people, you can immediately start seeing the difference like in the way that he's carrying himself. And it made me feel so weird. It made me feel so weird because like that's not Ken.
Yeah.
It's not Ken. Ken is supposed to be the
Yeah.
extra.
I
But
didn't
like now
think,
he has his purpose.
I didn't think Ken was gonna take this route. I thought he was just gonna be Barbie's little assistant the whole movie, but he is the antagonist, which is a little wild because I would argue, is more of an antagonist than the Mattel corporate people. So that threw me for a loop. Malia, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I felt like, I guess in my head, I was thinking about how this may be what it like for little boys and little girls to kind of figure out and realize what their gender presentation means in the real world. Like at some point for young girls, they get catcalled for the first time and they're like, oh, well, that's weird. Like, you know what I mean? And I wonder if there's a parallel, and I would ask you guys, like, maybe is there a time as a young boy where you were like, oh, I do get more respect or something? I don't know. I was thinking that, and when I was watching that scene, I was like, is this supposed to be, you know, referencing something like that?
So like, I'm not very pretty, but like, but like, I know like my brother who is really, really good looking, and people would say things like, "Oh, you're going to be a heartbreaker, and you're going to be a player, and you're going to be like, you know, this thing." They would say these things to him, right? He's obviously like light skin, green eyes, which in Desi culture is like, you know, what everybody wants. So I did notice that happening to him a little bit. You know, he modeled for Hollister, so he would get a lot of attention and stuff like that. And it would be like this weird, like, I don't know, like accomplishment, but you didn't really do anything. You know, it was just like, he was born that way. For guys, I think it would be like when you forget your first job. You know, that's where I felt like I was getting real respect. When you get your job, you get your money. That's when people start treating you a little bit differently. In college, I was a nerd, so I never really, I'm sure other guys might have experience, but for me, like, I was an electrical engineer. It was difficult. I was in the books the entire time. Didn't really
Nerd.
participate. I'm a huge nerd. So like, I didn't really experience that as a kid. So I don't know. What about you, Jazz? You were on the football team. You were a big shot.
Yeah, so I would go even further back. I think it would have to be the day that I wore a suit to middle school, 6th grade. And for some reason in that moment, everyone was like, oh, you're in a suit. And, you know, again, I didn't really do anything at that point. Like, I was just in a suit because my, you know, mom forced me to be in a suit for something else we were doing that morning. I don't even remember what that was. But wearing that suit, the attention was there. And I can remember that was the moment for me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. One thing I do want to talk about when we comes to attention, Barbie sits down at a bench, and there's this like beautiful moment. I didn't understand it, but I felt it. Like I felt the
That was
emotion.
a great moment. I know exactly what you're talking about.
She's sitting with this old lady, and she is a costume designer. Her name is like Anne Roth, I believe. And she just sits with this old lady and tells her she's beautiful. It's such a beautiful moment where nothing is really happening, but you're just feeling these emotions. And like shout out to Margot Robbie, who just does an excellent job, where she just like portrays all these emotions and feelings without any lines. I thought that was really, really great. And it's really interesting because it's one of my favorite scenes in the movie, and the executives actually wanted to take that scene out, which is really wild. And Greta and Margot had to fight to keep that scene in.
Mm.
What did that scene mean to you guys?
You can go, Melina.
I feel like I think it basically, I think in like the real world, the ageism and everything, I think in that moment it's just a pure moment. Again, in many ways Barbie's representing girlhood to womanhood, right? Like that's her transition, but she hasn't as of yet been impacted by ageism and stuff in the real world, because in Barbie land everything's perfect, everyone's beautiful. So even though she's interacting with an older woman who stereotypically does not look beautiful, to her she does that make sense? Because she has not learned the biases of our worlds yet. So to her it's like, wow, you're a beautiful woman. And so she makes that comment, and they have a moment where she and the lady's like, I know it, so that's how I interpreted that really cute, beautiful moment.
That's awesome. Anything to add, Ellie?
I think like when I was watching it, she was really just taken aback by everything that the real world had to offer. And they show her experiencing like everything from the real world from the beginning of the movie and also at the end of the movie. But I think that when she realizes and she sees everything, that she just looks to this old woman and says she's beautiful. I think she was also including like everything about the world around her was beautiful at the same time.
Yeah, I totally get that. I do feel like it was in a sea of like all these bad feelings that she was kind of getting. It was like a little bit of relief from that. We're just sitting down with this old woman and having a moment, and she wasn't ogling her, she wasn't judging her, she was just sitting next to her, and it was just a nice peaceful moment. And sometimes peace is one of the best things that we could ask for, right? A little bit of peace is really, really nice. I love that. All right, this is where the show gets a little nutty. So they go into the Mattel store, Mattel headquarters, I would say. And we learned about Will Ferrell again playing another, corporate guy, like a little bit of the Lego movie-ish vibes that I'm getting there, right?
Yes.
So, another toy for Will Ferrell to play. So, I thought that was really cool.
An Elf reference?
Like, yeah, they had some Elf reference too.
Is this a reference to The Office when he became?
Oh, the mini references.
Oh yeah, there's so much going on here.
I love the part where they referenced they didn't have that many female CEOs. I was like, really, Mattel? That's interesting. I was like, come on, Mattel, you got to do better than that. All right, so we finally get introduced to Gloria in this episode. Gloria is just a receptionist, and then she hears them talking about Barbie, and she's like, "What's going on? A real Barbie?" And then while that's happening, Barbie tries to go and find the girl who played with her, and she thinks that it's Sasha. So she goes to her school, and the girls somebody mentioned in the comments are actually based on Bratz dolls.
The names.
Yeah, someone says, Gloria's daughter and her friends represent the Brat dolls. They have the same names as the Brat dolls.
Yeah, Jade, Yasmin, Sasha. Cannot remember the last one. But I remember that from the commercials growing up.
I've never seen a Bratz doll. I mean, I know what they are, but I've never.
Yeah, I've seen commercials, and I remember those 3 names specifically. There's a 4th one, but it's not coming to me. But yeah, they were all named after the Bratz dolls, and I picked on the picked up on that. It was really funny because who I was watching with, they were like, "How the hell do you know that?" What?
Yeah,
it's one of those things that stuck in my head growing up.
That's funny. So Sasha just goes off on Barbie, and she
Yes, she
says like
does.
you're the worst thing to happen to feminism, and also you're a fascist. I thought that was wild, and it's one of the things that I think is really funny because the way they marketed this movie is like, if you love Barbie, you're gonna love this movie. If you hate Barbie, you're gonna love this movie. And I feel like this was that scene for all the people who just hate Barbie and everything she stands for, and they're kind of like, yeah. And I feel like it made sense to call it out because if they didn't, somebody else would have, right? So might as well
Yeah.
call it out themselves. What were your thoughts on the scene with Sasha and her friends? Ellie, you want to go first?
So poor Barbie, first of all, because she went in there thinking this is going to be amazing. She's going to meet her person, and she immediately gets stopped, and she's like, this little girl is like, she's going to destroy you. First and foremost, don't do it. She should have known from that point, but poor Barbie is so innocent. She tries to engage. She tries to be like, no, I'm the reason that there's positivity, essentially. And Sasha is just shutting her down with each and every single thing that she brings up, to the point she just starts. It's just a great interaction of people that hate Barbie and the Barbie lovers. Like, because I can sit here all day and be like, Barbie is a great representation. And I will mention this, Barbie is an amazing asexual representation, because to go all the way back to the beginning, when Ken's like, oh, can I hang out at your house tonight? Because we're boyfriend and girlfriend. And she's just like, why?
Yeah.
But so there's a whole thing we could talk about on that I've seen on TikTok, but we're not going to go into that. But like,
Ooh,
it's
nice.
just this great parallel that you see between them two. But like, Barbie's still going through all this grief process. So I think it was needed for the movie because of the dialogue that was going to happen.
I agree. What about you, Malia?
Yeah, I think I also appreciated the generational element, because like you have like a Gen X mom, a Gen Z daughter, and Gen X is, I think, who started playing with Barbie, I assume.
Yeah.
Like, in terms of that. And for them, like kind of we discussed earlier in the podcast, it is like an iconic thing. It was inspiring for them to have this doll that had more careers than they could imagine. And then for Gen Z, like we have come along since then, and we're like, what the hell? This is BS. This is projecting Eurocentric beauty standards, all of which is also true, right? And I think to me, that's also what makes it iconic. Like fiction in general, it's like you can project the good, the bad, and like they can hold all of it. And so I think it was a very like real moment. Like it was, self-aware, but also acknowledging the pro cons of Barbie, where she came in thinking like, wow, I must have done amazing things for women, but turns out these girls hate her guts.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. All right, and then we see Barbie leaves for the Mattel store. And then she meets Will Ferrell. They try to get her to go back in the box. She runs away. This is the part where I was like, what's going on here? Because Gloria seems to be a normal person. Sasha seems to be a normal person. But everyone in the Mattel store seems to be a little wacky, a little like, they're like cartoonish. And I was like, when they were running after her and they were doing the little Scooby-Doo moment where like everyone's chasing everybody, I was like, okay, where is this movie going? I'm a little confused because I thought they were in the real world, but this is a little silly.
That's so true.
And then I was like, maybe the Mattel store is like a gateway between it's like the purgatory of like the Barbie world and the real world. And this is probably like something in between where it is a little bit of silliness in this, which because they also go to Barbie Land and they're also going on like the same backward journey, which I thought was really, really funny. And they're being silly about it. And I really thought that these Mattel guys were going to be the main villains of the entire story. And that's where the story was going. And then when Ken goes back, I'm like, I didn't think anything of it. I didn't think anything was going to happen. But yes, they go on this little wild goose chase, and and then she meets Ruth Handler, who is the creator of Barbie. And fun fact, like Barbie is named after her daughter Barbara, and Ken is named after her son Kenneth, which is kind of weird because Barbie and Ken are actually brother and sister if you think about it.
We're not going to think about it too much.
Don't think about it too much.
Don't think about it too much.
Game of Thrones shit, right? All right, we'll ignore that. But yes,
wait.
Go for it, Malia.
Sorry, I just realized something reflecting. I think that moment when Barbie and Sasha are kind of like going up, whatever, I think it was also a good representation of how white women and white feminism, they think we've done all this progress and they're like, look at this amazing work. And then a woman of color reminding them, like, look at all the problems you've also created. And I thought it also represented that just the different dialects, feminism and how different people view different things as progressive and not so progressive. But yeah, sorry. Literally thought of that while we were talking.
No,
that was great. Neves,
Yeah,
you got to clip
that's
that for
great.
TikTok. That was fantastic.
Clip it. Clip it.
I really think that Greta getting America Ferrera and her daughter to be people of color in this movie was such great foresight, because it would not hit the same if they were also white characters. Like, it would not hit the same. So it was really, really great foresight. I did like that. All right. So Sasha and Gloria decide to go and save Barbie, and they end up on this little wacky chase. They save them, and then they go back to not Barbie Land, but Kendom.
The ultimate anime betrayal.
Oh man, the Kendom. All right, so they go to the Kendom, and it turns out that Ken introduces everybody to patriarchy, and they just take to it so well. And now all of the Barbies are kind of brainwashed to do Ken's bidding. What were your thoughts about this? I would love to hear it. Ellie, let's go.
So it when I saw that it turned into Kingdom, I was like, this man really just became the ultimate villain, first and foremost, because you took the 4 books that you had, one of which was about horses, and you took it all the way back to Barbie Land, showed all the Kens who know. Sasha even asked this question when they arrived there, where do all the Kens stay if all the Barbie houses look? Ken went back, introduced everyone to patriarchy. All the Barbies ended up going from their iconic jobs to wearing the skimpy outfits that again don't really match, because Barbie is an asexual icon. So they were just out here like catering actually to the male gaze, even though the Kens don't understand what that necessarily is. They're just doing it because it feels right to be a man and to be heard. And just seeing all the Barbies, poor Barbies, just be broken down to these basic I'm not gonna say the word. These basic girls.
You
It wasn't
can't say
heartbreaking,
it.
but
This
like
podcast is 18 plus, so you can say it.
I'm just not gonna say it.
Oh,
Like it was just really weird to see because all of that. But like at the end of the day, where do the Kens stay? They end up staying in the Barbie's houses, and the Barbies stay at the Barbie houses at the same time. So it's like, what's going on here, Ken? With the Mojo Dojo Casa houses.
Mojo Dojo Casa. my favorite part is when Ken has sunglasses on and he puts on another pair of sunglasses. I love that scene so much.
Whoever did the costume design here, phenomenal. Like,
oh my God, yes.
That's
his faux fur underneath it was horses, and I cackled in the movie theater when I found that out.
Oh my God.
There's also a reference to Rocky, which is also kind of funny because he was trying to emulate Rocky in that moment. So it's great.
And also,
I feel like
they come up with like horses like this.
Yeah.
Like, doing that.
The
Monty
dance.
Python. That was so funny. Malia, what are your thoughts about the Kendom?
I feel like I did not see him as the enemy. Like, sure, he's kind of the antagonist of the story, but like I felt like he was going through his own journey. And it was kind of more like, when you're, because to me, I think because me, I'm on Twitter, all this Andrew Tate stuff. And it's like, for so many men in all the frustrations of the, real world, they often seek out something that works for them. And that's where he subscribed to patriarchy. And he's like, okay, this is what we're going to do. And this is going to be amazing, right? Because in his perception, and so for me, it was like, honestly, we saw a lot of character growth also through Ken, right? Like
Right.
him going from like, oh, can I stay with you? No, okay, you're always right, haha. And then he's like, oh my god, this world brings me power, so maybe I should bring this here. But then also then realizing the harm and stuff like that. So I guess for me, Kendom was essentially a representation of like how men often struggle within the patriarchy themselves. Like they often
Yeah.
seek it out because it feels like the only thing to be offered by other men. So they're like, okay, let's take it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think a lot of men understand that the patriarchy hurts them too, and it's one of those things where it's like you don't understand it until you actually learn what the patriarchy is. Because people think this movie is just hating on men, but I
Right.
never felt that way. There's no part in this movie where I was like, this movie is hating on men. Even when Gloria goes on her monologue and says all the things that like women have to deal with, none of them were putting men down. They were all just things that women struggle with, right? And I
Yeah.
feel like people are reaching a little bit because they want to hate on this. Some of the men, I don't think it's even as woke as you people think it is, because it's really just a basic story. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It's simple and basic because it's for kids. Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like the part where she does her monologue is spoon feeding you all of the stuff and it's very surface level. But like if you're watching this and you're a kid, that's the level of where you understand it. You don't need these like really complicated subtext and nuance. You can just have her say the stuff, and they did a good job of making it part of the plot because that's how they unbrainwashed the women. And I thought that was very interesting. They killed two birds with one stone right there, and I thought that was done really well. What are your thoughts about the monologue? Malia, want to go first?
Oh, the monologue. Yeah, I think like kind of what you touched on, like this movie wasn't trying to be like super deep, like when people are like, oh, this is woke and all that. Because I think, like a lot of people said, it's very feminism 101. Like, you know, there is nothing, for me at least, there's nothing new concepts being taught to me in this film.
Sure.
But it is being introduced to so many people who have not heard these words. So many people, for them, perhaps patriarchy was, this is the first time, or they understand the word patriarchy. And I think the monologue, like you said, because sometimes we need to hear the basics, and sometimes we assume people understand the experience and they don't. And this is where I think, like, especially with marginalized communities, whether it's like women or people of color, whatever, we have to share our stories so the other side understands, right? And I think like a part of the monologue was people getting to witness the women's struggle, even if it's like the basic struggles. But so many people don't always know that. Like, I think this is such a good movie for men to watch, especially given that it's not framed for men, but it is for men to understand the women's experience, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm a little bit lucky because I also felt like none of this was new to me. Like I've been lucky enough to be surrounded by women who, you know, talk about this stuff all the time. So I kind of have a little bit of insight into that. And also me and Jazz are smart enough to always have women on our podcast. So they teach us, keep us on the straight and narrow, keep
We
us
have a
in
rule.
line.
We
Yes,
have a
we
rule
do.
that we can't go more than 2 episodes without having, you know,
A
a
female
woman on.
guest. A
Yeah.
female guest. That's
So
our
you-
rule.
Oh, wow, wow, wow.
So they're out. You guys should be Allens then, not just Kens.
Yes, Allen's.
I don't know. I still want a Mojo Dojo Casa house.
Oh, Alan. I love Alan.
You know, all Allens are NSYNC, right?
Yeah.
Every member of NSYNC is an Allen.
Oh,
Mhm.
wow.
They said that in the movie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I thought that
Oh
was
my
pretty funny.
god.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'll take that.
Yep. All
Okay.
right. Let's see what else happened. All right. So the Kens all have these like vapid girlfriends who are like, you know, just kind of just like being there and doing everything that they want. And then the
Casual
Barbies.
long distance girlfriend.
Yeah, casual long distance.
Low commitment.
Oh man, that was funny. That was so funny when I saw that. So when they did the monologue, people snapped out of this, right? And then Weird Barbie was pretty much like, hey, listen, you're either brainwashed or you're ugly. There's no in between. Like, and it's kind of like, okay, that's a pretty good commentary on the social commentary right there. So they go on this little heist where they kidnap all the women, give them the speech, and then they snap them out of it. But they tell them to go back and pretend to be the same girlfriend. So they're like, yes, explain to me what the Godfather is and how the Godfather works.
Oh God.
And I
Yo,
thought,
that was a great line. Like, I've
know-
seen that so many times where guys get upset. Like, oh, The Godfather wasn't that great? You're wrong. That's a horrible take. They
Greta
can
Gerwig-
never understand that people can have opinions, but like, it was so amazing seeing it like that.
that felt personal. I like, Greta Gerwig in film school. Some guy, she's like a film school graduate, and some guy tries to explain to her Godfather.
You know what?
That
I
was
believe
personal.
that.
That was personal. It's so true though, because like I dated this girl and she had a really cool car. She had an Audi R8, the Iron Man car. And I would be on the passenger side of that car when she drive. People would compliment me, not her.
Oh no.
Wow.
Like, actually.
That's so wild. Like
Actually,
Actually.
one time she dropped me off to my car and I got into my car and a guy was like, yo, is that your car? I'm like,
oh my
what?
god.
You just saw me get out of that car and into this car. Oh man.
Wait,
it's-
I have
it's
a quick note on that. I
Sure.
found out, even though, like, you know how Ken is obsessed with the horses?
Yeah.
Apparently, the vast majority of horse owners in America are
Are women.
women.
Yes, I did know
Mhm.
Yeah.
that.
And I
Yes.
was like, oh, that's so interesting that we associate horses with men when most of the caretakers and the owners are women.
Yes.
Wow, that was
So
interesting.
That's
Yeah.
really, really true. All right. So they get the Kens to fight each other, or I guess beach off each other. But before they do that, they go into the I'm just Ken. I love that song. You know that song was a joke? It wasn't even supposed to be in the movie.
Really?
Mark Ronson wrote that
They-
as a joke.
That such a good song.
That was a beautiful piece.
Yeah.
I was singing that. I'm like, yes, I'm
Anywhere
just
else I'd be a 10. Blonde fragility. It's so good. Yeah. Oh man. I hope Ryan I hope Ryan Gosling gets like an Emmy for that or an Oscar for that. That'd be so funny.
Supporting
Yes.
character.
For a
I can
song.
see that. Yeah.
A Grammy. Who knows? He could
Yes.
get he got.
You got the whole thing.
Yeah.
You got
Look at a Tony in a movie. Okay, yeah, sure.
All
Let's
right.
just roll with it.
Yeah. All right. So the Kens are now fighting each other in this great battle, which I thought was hilarious again. And then the women go and they vote in the new constitution and stuff like that. And they bring
Yay.
peace.
Oh wow, just like
Barbie
a
land.
real world. We men are
Again.
too busy fighting and ignoring the actual realities of what's going on.
Yeah.
And then women have to come in and save the day like always.
Women
so.
saved the day once again.
Oh yeah.
Well, in
Mhm.
Ken's defense, he didn't really care about it once he learned horses were not part of the patriarchy.
Yeah.
But I did like the part where she was like, yeah, not every night has to be girls' night. Like there's gonna be like a space for Ken. We'll make space for the Kens, and it won't be all bad. And then Ruth comes back, and they have a really great moment. And Barbie has this line. I want to read it out. It goes, "I want to be part of people that make meaning, not the thing they made. I want to be the meaning. I don't want to be the idea." So I thought that was a really cool line that she had, and then she, gets to be a real person after that, which I thought was funny.
I like the moment, like you said, real person. I'm thinking of her in the car, and they're like, "Oh, what are you here for?" And she's smiling. I'm
You
here
just
to
see
see
my
my gynecologist. God.
Yes. Which is a funny joke, but Greta said that she know that girls are going to be watching this stuff and they need to know about their bodies and stuff. And I respect
Yeah, no,
that.
it was great. Like,
Yeah.
it was just so funny to me the way they did it. Like when they just when she was just smiling about it, I'm like, oh, oh no.
But I
for
really
her first human
time.
experience.
But I
Yeah.
really love that quote because if I don't know if you guys know about Greta Gerwig's history and stuff like that, but she was supposed to be the star of How I Met Your Father. She was supposed to be the lead. She was supposed to be the main
What?
woman. Yes. And
Ah.
they did a screen test and people hated her so much. Every time she was on screen, people would
Aw.
no, we don't like her. We don't
Yeah.
like her. We don't like her. And then she was like, you know what? Like, I don't want to be the person that's the idea. Like, I don't want to be this character. I want to be the person making the characters. And she went on to do a lot of behind the scenes stuff and become a director. And she did Lady Bird and Little Women and all of these amazing movies. And that quote really resonates with how she has, grown in her career. And I really liked that. I thought that was really, really cool and well done. And then, Barbie becomes a real person and she becomes Barbara Handler. And she is wearing pink sandals. So not Birkenstocks, not pink heels, but a combination of the two, a little compromise of the two, and pink sandals, which I thought was really, really cool. The best of both worlds. Yeah.
Like, I think she doesn't have to compromise her hyper femme aesthetic to be the human person. Yeah, because I think there's also commentary, and this is like, again, social commentary on, for a lot of women, a canon event in their life was being anti-femme or anti-pink. And so like Barbie is able to do all these boss babe things while still being true to herself and her aesthetic. And I think we're seeing, at least in which is why I like the film, the culture around the film, like everyone's dressed in pink and enjoying and getting together. Like, we are running out of pink in the world, apparently.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah, quite literally.
Yeah, and I think like it's a cultural phenomenon, and there's a canon event right now in the real world, which is women embracing their hyper feminine sides. So I thought that was cute.
Speaking of running out, we're running out of time a little bit, so I want to go into one more commercial. Then we'll come back with Easter eggs, and then we'll wrap it up. So we'll be back in 5, 4, 3, 2. And we're back, guys. Well, thanks again for Ellie and Malia for getting us so much wisdom. But I do want to share some Easter eggs before we wrap all of this up. But before we wrap this up, I do want to say one of my favorite quotes in the movie, and I want to get your thoughts on it before we go into Easter eggs. Ruth says to Barbie, "We mothers stand still so that our daughters can see how far they've come." This is so good. So good. Love it. I was like, no. It got me. I was like, that was so good. I was like in tears. That was the best line in the entire movie. What are your thoughts?
I was already emotional wreck by the time that part came on. So because there was just so much happening. But like, to see her being like this the creator of Barbie, just kind of talking to Barbie, being like, it was basically like I'm proud of you for whatever decision that you make anyway. And I think that was probably so healing, even if it doesn't come from like, even if it doesn't come directly from my mother, but like, it's like, I'm proud of you, regardless of what you're doing right now. I'm proud of you. I wanted to see you continue to succeed. And it was emotional. It was emotional, to say the least. I might have shed a couple tears.
Dang, Ellie, that was beautiful. I cannot top that. No, I'm serious. Even I didn't see it that way, but like, that's really beautiful.
All right. I want to go into the comments. This one I think is really funny. Someone says, I read that. Oh, where'd it go? Where'd the comment go? Okay. I said, I read that Barbie, the Lego movie, and Black Panther all are the same, and I can see that. All right. So let me read out what someone wrote. This is a friend of mine. His name is Alex on Pop Culture Brain. He goes, Barbie and Black Panther. Barbie is pretty much Black Panther for white chicks. This is what they wrote. So there is a hero who lives in a secret land full of magic and powerful women. The land is secluded from the rest of the world. After learning that there is an outside world, the hero goes and starts to question the society. Then the usurper, with knowledge from the outside world, who tries to take over that society, Killmonger. In the end, they have a fight, and the hero wins, restoring balance and power. But the hero is convinces everyone to go back to their regular idea, but decides to keep some ideas that the usurper had, because some of them weren't all bad. And the hero becomes a bigger presence in the outside world. Black Panther, Barbie.
Barbie. I mean, when you got the facts, you got the facts, and they're right there.
I thought that was really funny. So shout out to the Brown Boy Wonder for bringing that up in the comments. It just so happens that like I actually had that in my notes too. All right, so let's go through some Easter eggs that I thought were really, really cool. Feel free to give your comments on them, but we'll kind of blast through them, right? Let's see. The Space Odyssey and the monolith, that's from the movie. Uh, let's see, that black swimsuit that she wears in that monument, that's the first Barbie. That's
That's
an
the first
actual the first
Barbie.
Barbie, which
Yep.
is really, really cool. We talked about how Barbie flows down. That's supposed to represent how kids play with her. The no liquid thing is kind of like how kids have tea parties and stuff like that. We talked about that. When she goes down the house, there is a little Marilyn Monroe reference with her skirt going up a little bit, like with the wind. Yeah. And then Midge is a real person. I mean, a real actual doll that was pregnant. That is wild. Bananas.
Yeah.
And she is married to Alan.
Yeah, I was going to say that she's married to Alan. Yeah.
Yeah. We talked about the pink brick roads. The Barbie map actually caused a huge controversy because there's like this like weird map that they made in the background, and then like Vietnam and China had like issues with the way the map was drawn out, and they were like, yo, this map was like drawn as if a kid did it, but they were like, they had to blur it out. They had to blur out the map. That was wild. That was bananas.
Yeah, no, I'm not touching that one.
No,
no. Let's see.
Not my place.
We talked about the Sugar Daddy and the Magic Ken. Those were real too.
Oh my god!
Excuse you, it's real. Sugar's daddy. Sugar apostrophe S is
yes,
daddy.
Sugar's daddy. Sugar is the dog. Yes. And they had a TV Barbie with the TV in the back. That was also real. And Skipper with the boobs that grow are actually real, bro.
Yeah.
That was a real Barbie.
Yes,
I had the TV Barbie.
Did you really?
I did.
That's probably worse than mine now.
That TV Barbie had a lot of controversy. I remember this one because I believe the FBI got involved with it because they had like it would literally play back 30 minutes of video, right? And it has like a camera, like you could put a camera there, and so there were a lot of issues with that. So
wow,
yeah, it got heated. I remember like watching it on the news and like. I want to say it was a freshman in college, like right around 2010.
See why it was discontinued.
Yeah, it got discontinued real quick.
All right. At the end, there's a bunch of pictures of the cast. That is their real family in those end credit pictures, which is really cute.
That was so wholesome.
Yeah. And last and finally, they make a reference to NSYNC. Ryan Gosling was actually in the Mickey Mouse Club with JC Chazaz and Justin Timberlake. And when Ryan Gosling's mom had to leave to go back to Canada, Ryan Gosling stayed with Justin Timberlake. They stayed together.
Oh wow!
Oh, a small world.
So Alan and NSYNC reference. So cool little Easter eggs that we got here.
Oh, I got one more actually.
You got one more? What you got? Give it to us.
Wait, no, Ellie, you go first.
Okay, so I'm a big K-pop girly. So the outfit, the cowboy outfit that Ken wears, Jimin actually wore it in the Dynamite music video. And so he ended up talking about it with Jimin from BTS, and he ends up giving him his guitar that says Ken on it. So now Jimin owns the guitar that says Ken.
That's crazy.
That's so cute.
Wow.
Amazing.
All right, Jazz, what was yours?
So America Ferrera, who plays the mom, right? Gloria. At the very end where they're all in the car together, that's her actual husband.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That is her.
That was actually
husband.
really cool. And then like when he says "Si se puede," that's a reference to what is it?
Gotta kick it up.
Gotta kick it up, right? That was line America Ferrera's character kept saying in that movie. So yeah.
Ah,
it was really cool.
Interesting. Very
that
cool.
was him supporting his wife and through all of her time as an actress. It was cool.
Love that. I also love the fact that they called her White Savior Barbie at one point, which I thought was really funny. I love this movie. I feel like it was a little bit for everybody. People of color, women, even the men. The jokes were on point. They were funny. The way this movie has been memed and referenced to death, I love it. I'm a big fan. Any final thoughts before we let you guys go that we didn't go over that you want to talk about?
Did you know that the creator of Barbie was Jewish?
No, I did not know that. Very cool.
So when Will Ferrell says in the random quote, he was like, I also have Jewish friends. I thought that was so random until I found out the creator of Barbie was Jewish.
Oh, wow. Very interesting.
That explains that line. Okay.
That explains it. They also had a line about tax evasion, which turns out to be true also. But
Yes, it was
that's
true.
wild. That is pretty
Mhm.
interesting. All right, cool. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. We are at the top of the hour. What's that noise? I heard, is that a cat or something? Okay. Is that with you, Jess?
Nope.
Okay, it was something. Anyways, yes, thank you guys for joining us. Really appreciate it. Before we go, let people know where they can find you if you want to be found. Some people don't want to be found, but I know Ellie, you got religiously nerdy. Let people know where they can find you because you have your own
Y'all
podcast.
can find Religiously Nerdy at Religiously Nerdy on Instagram. If y'all have a Twitter, we're at 3Muslim Nerds on Twitter. And we also have our blog, which you can find religiouslynerdy.com, where you can read our articles about anime and manga and pop culture and podcasts as well.
Very cool. Very cool. Malia, what about you?
You can find me also almost everywhere socials. It's at Maliha Ness, so MalihaNess, and Twitter, Insta. Well, it's not even Twitter anymore. It's X. Ew.
X.
No, we're still calling it Twitter.
It's Twitter. It's Twitter.
I don't know how long I'm gonna hang out on that website anymore, but while I'm still there, that's my on TikTok, Insta, Twitter, yeah, wherever you can find.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for being on the show. And everybody else, thank you guys for listening. Remember to like, share, comment, subscribe. We are almost at 1,000 followers on YouTube, which means we can get paid. So, unlike Warner Brothers, we won't have to go bankrupt and have to depend on Barbie to save us. But yes, please follow us on YouTube. YouTube is where all the fun is. That's where people join and they're in the comments and it's all types of fun. But also we're available everywhere on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Apple Podcasts. Thank you for joining us. And until next time, guys, Salaam nerds.
Peace.
Salaam.